Hey guys, today is going to be a late autumn, early winter video. I've come out in my 90-year-old Woolrich Mackinaw coat. So Mackinaw Cruiser, I guess you would call it, because it's the cruiser coat, you know, that they used to use back in the day, timber cruiser. They had the big map pocket in the back and all that, you know. So this video is going to be take some of this off, by the way. This video is going to be about wool coats, one of my favorite things, and so on. So this particular scarf you saw, I put this together the other day. It's two scarves turned into one. It's about 9 feet total, I think. So you should have plenty of scarf, right? And it's all wool, 100% wool. Big, just one big tube of mesh wool. So it's a knit. It's really nice. And then I got my 100% wool coat on here. Now this coat is 90 years old. Now, you say, well, what do you want that 90-year-old coat for? Well, because it's heavy. It's heavy wool. It's not lighter wool like most of the wool coats now. You know, you get something like a like a Filson Mackinaw wool coat. It's only 24-ounce material. That's it. You know, this is like really heavy, and in places it's doubled. Like this collar is doubled or tripled. I mean, it is thick, really thick. Fortunately, I have an 18-inch neck, and this piece here that's supposed to like draw it together doesn't work for me. I have to see if I can make a extension or a longer piece to go on there, and then we go draw that together. And then of course this neck doesn't work for me, you know. So I mean, I could use a nice scarf, right? So but anyway, what I love about these coats is that, you know, this older coat is just super thick, and it's Mackinaw wool. So I mean, when the wind's blowing, I mean, it's just almost, it's got to be blowing like really hard, like 40, 50, 60 miles an hour to be able to even start to feel, you know, something. You know, maybe it's a cold spot, but it's not pushing, it's not coming through the garment, you know what I mean? It's got to be really severe. And I was going to get some Mackinaw wool to make a cape cover, and I've already got the pieces to make the double sleeves. I've already got those, but I don't have the other material that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna do a cape. I want to make a cape that goes down about somewhere between the top of the bottom pockets and the bottom of the top pocket, somewhere in there. I want to make a doubled cape. You know, thinking maybe the top of the bottom pockets. I do the best I can. I'm not a professional. But then have the double sleeves on, which will be tied into the cape, and then the cape will have, hopefully I will have enough material and enough know-how to do a hood that comes up and draws around. I might be able to get some. I've got some wool pelts, sheep pelts. I may be able to put a fur ruff. I might be able to put a fur ruff on that. I don't know. I mean, it's all just kind of like, try to get it to, how am I supposed to word this? Well, I'm gonna play it by ear. How's that sound? That sounds good. All right, play it by ear. Get the material. Do the patterning and all that jazz. And I talked about this last year, but everything is an expense, right? And then I had a really large expense with my vehicle recently, so that kind of kicked me back a bit. Well, but things will still get done in time. If I'm still around, I might kick off between now and next year. You never know. I mean, these days you never know when you're going to kick off. But what else? Yeah. So this coat is this is one of my favorite coats. I've got a few wool anoraks that I've gotten over the years. I really love those too. But the thing is, I could just throw this coat on and look fairly normal going into town to get the mail or whatnot, because I don't get nothing here, and people like the coat too. I've had a lot of people that were wearing Filsons tell me how much they like my coat, and I have not encountered anyone with a Stormy Chromer double Mackinaw, and it'd be nice to see a double Mackinaw Stormy Chromer, but I haven't seen one yet. See a few Filsons around, but you could tell they're newer and they're thinner. That's the thing. Like I've complained about before on the channel, a lot of the newer wool stuff is just not made for real world use. I mean, I can remember when I got this thing, it still had sawdust from the chainsaw in the pockets down here, and it's always been a working coat. It's always been a coat to be used out in the harsh weather, in the middle of winter, cutting up wood, whether it's bucking wood with a chainsaw or chopping wood with an axe. I mean, it's got really good freedom of movement, which you don't find with a lot of coats nowadays. A lot of them do. You lift up your arms and you're like, I can't get my arm up. That's not good, because these coats are designed to be used for being outdoors, chopping wood and sawing up wood with a chainsaw, and going hunting and trapping and so forth. That's what they're designed for. Now, I've gone through this coat, and every single button is original, and I wanted to keep those buttons there original and not lose any, so I went through with the Coats upholstery thread, which is super heavy duty stuff. I mean, I've talked about it many times on the channel. I went through every button, and I sewed the heck out of each one, adding uh, more thread, and then of course knotting them off and singeing them to where they can't come undone. These buttons will never come off. I guarantee it. They're not going to fall off for sure. Um, but yeah, so we have an email here today. It's a nice email. I got it from a fellow. Um, he's, they produce some nice coats. I've been following their company for a while. I'm not going to tell you who they are or anything yet. I'm going to leave it as a surprise. But anyway, I like the looks of what they're doing. Very similar to this style coat. I reached out a while back to Stormy Cromer. I've had a few emails with Stormy Cromer and Filson. I had some negative emails back and forth with them on their products, things that I think are false claims. But this other company, okay, is a newer company, but they're doing things right. They're doing things right. They're getting, they've got heavy Mackinaw wool coats, and and I reached out to them and I said, hey, I would be willing to check your coat out in a video. I hold this coat as a gold standard. This old Woolrich is 90 years old, still going, no holes, 100% wool, 100% hardcore. I mean, I hold the bar high. So, but I told them, I said, look, I said, I'd be interested in having one of your coats on the channel, because I got a lot of guys that watch this channel, and whether you like me or not, okay, whether you like me or not is irrelevant. But the fact of the matter is I have a lot of guys that watch this channel who've been TV personalities, and they've been on TV shows and whatnot. They come on here and they glean ideas from me, and then they go do stuff on their channel. Even Morris Kahansky used to be old Morris, he used to be a viewer of the channel. Hope he's alright. Miss that old guy. But get a lot of heavyweights watch this channel. And you can take that or leave it, or you can believe it or not. And I've had a lot of people that send me, they send me emails and this and that. But when it comes to wool, this company is doing things. It looks like they're doing things right. They're analyzing other companies' stuff, and they're doing their own thing, because they're just not finding stuff up to snuff, right? Like me, I don't have a bunch of money sitting around, and I'm too old to really mess around with learning new tricks, But And I don't know if I would ever see them through anyway, because it's just getting to that point in life. You know, just getting too long in the tooth to start something new. But anyway, uh, these people that I'm talking about they're doing everything. It looks like they're doing everything right. They're doing all their due diligence on research and product uh, manufacturing. You know, as to what's what. You know, what material is the best. You know, making sure that there's plenty of collar. You know, making sure that it's heavy wool. And so forth. I mean, they're just doing a lot of good things. I've been watching this company for a few years, but anyway, they got sent a letter to me today that said that they don't have any right now, but you know, sometime between now and 2026, they'd like to send me a coat. I told them if they wanted to send me a coat, I would feature it on the channel, and I would compare it with this coat, and I would give them an honest, not only an honest review, you know, but I mean, I don't foresee any issues with this coat. To be honest with you, I think it's probably going to be every bit as good as this coat. Okay, and that's high praise, even having not even seen the coat, but just knowing that the fellow who owns the company, you know, he feels, I could tell he feels as strongly about certain things as I do. And I think that this coat is going to be a winner. I mean, it's probably a winner already, but it's still a young company. And if this coat is every bit as good as I think it is, or is going to be, or it is, or is going to be, then, you know, it's quite possible that many of you guys out there will want to buy one after you see it on the channel. And I'll just tell you, you know, I mean, that I've pretty much given up with the big companies producing anything worth their salt. You know, that Filson is kind of pretty much out the window. They didn't even have a real double Mackinaw wool coat this year, or this past year. I mean, it's just like a Mackinaw wool coat with some cheap canvas, you know, as quote unquote the double layer. Oh, it's higher water repellency, blah blah blah. That's not what I want. You know, wool can be water repellent too. You know, you just put lanolin on it, and it automatically will soak up all that lanolin, and it will become very hydrophobic. You know, and it won't soak up that much water, and you won't even feel it anyway. Most of the time, you're not going to feel it anyway. If you had a double Mackinaw, you probably won't even feel any wetness anyway, because it'll only get so wet, and it expands, it swells. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But that'd be exciting if we could get one of those coats here, you know, this kind of size, maybe slightly larger, because the 18-inch neck it's always a problem for me. But and my shoulder width is, you know. But anyway, I hope that they can also do some customized sizing, or some even really large sizing, because I got one of my viewers, you know, he's constantly emailing me, and I think it's just fine. You know, I have no problem with that. With questions, you know, he's a very big proponent of especially winter. You know, he's a big guy. He's 6 foot something, and you know, just a big guy, right? So I'm hoping that maybe, this company that I'm talking about with this wool coat, I'm hoping maybe they do some very large sizes or customized or customized cuts, possibly. That would actually be something good, because I know that another company in Europe does customized wool. Okay, but it would be really nice if this fellow who emails me pretty often could get a customized coat if he were interested. Of course, I'm not trying to force him to go buy a coat. No, not at all. Never force anybody to buy anything. I just recommend things that I think are worth the money, right? Right now, I'm not seeing Filson as worth the money. I'm not. I had that banter back and forth with them over the ounce weight of their wool Mackinaw. Is it 24 or is it 26? Is it 24 or is it 26? Well, it says this, but it says that. It can't be both, right? Talked about this before. If you go down in the videos, you'll see stuff with Filson, Stormy Cromer in the title there. Watch those videos and you'll see I talked about my back and forth banter with Filson. Claims. They claim one thing and the website says they say this, the website says that. The website says that, they claim this. It can't be both, But to make you feel better about your Filson, if you already bought Filson in the past year or two, they say sewn in the USA with imported materials. Well, just to let you know that I know that they get their Mackinaw wool from about 3 different sources in Europe. They don't buy it from the Far East. Just to let you know, because there's a lot of people online that are running their mouths that don't know. And they say, oh, it's imported, and they automatically say something like, oh, it's probably from China or whatever. They have no research in it whatsoever, whereas I busted my butt and I found out that, primarily, I know for sure that 2 of the places that they get their Mackinaw wool are Italy and Switzerland. There was one other country in Europe, but I can't remember what it was. It escapes me, and I don't remember where I found the information. So it's in Europe is where it comes from. Now that said, this small company, fairly new company that's producing the coat that I was talking about a few minutes ago is all made in the USA. And the Mackinaw wool, which is probably 26 ounce, is actually made here in New England. Okay, in a woolen mill here in New England. I know the mill. The wool is made in New England. It's not imported wool. It's made here, and it's sewn here. So the coat is completely made in the United States. Okay, it's made here in the U.S. 100%. Well, I think I'm going to leave off with this one on the wool, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you about some other things here. Knife and some other cold weather stuff. Alright? Take a little break from all the political stuff and other things, and do another outdoorsy video. I'll see you there.